Hello, everyone. Welcome to SUMICAST. I'm Stephen Pitalo from Corporate Communications, and today we are talking with Mauricio Benavides from our Mexico office. He is the general manager of the steel business for Mexico and for South America. So thank you very much, Mauricio, for joining us today.
Good morning. Good morning, Stephen. Thank you very much for the invitation. Regards from Mexico City. I'm very happy. I'm very pleased to be part of this amazing project. And let's talk about my career and about Mexico. But first of all, thanks again for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're one of our favorite people to talk to in general, I must say. So let's start at the beginning. You have an interesting sort of trajectory early in your life. You actually grew up in Costa Rica, not in
Right?
Mexico, where you live now. Can you tell us a little bit about growing up in Costa Rica and how that brought you to Mexico?
Yeah. Thank you. Of course, yes. I was born in San Jose, the Costa Rica capital, but basically I lived my whole life before living in Mexico in the very small city in that time. It's called Heredia. And I belong to the very traditional family. We are six. I'm the youngest. My father was a lawyer. My mother is a teacher. Fortunately, she is still with us. She's 94 right now. And it's what simple life because back then it wasn't a big city. So we had the opportunity to play in the streets, riding bicycles. I remember that in that time the city is not so big. So very close to my house, there's empty lots that we can play with the trees and with my friends. And it's a very nice city because everybody. Right now, when I visit the city, I don't know everybody because the city is so big. But in that time, going to the school, you said hello, good morning, everybody know you, especially because as my mother is working in the public school, everybody knows her. And also my father was a lawyer. So it was very nice. And I remember also that very close to my house, there's coffee plantations. So we can run around the coffee plantations, but we have to be careful because we want to play with the coffee grains. And the owner says, no, don't touch because you need to wait until the coffee will be red. It's ready to be collected. So it was very nice. I finished my career in Costa Rica as a lawyer. Maybe following my father family tradition. There's a lot of lawyers there. And everything seems to be peaceful. But suddenly 1994, I received an invitation from the international organization. It's called UNESCO. In that time, Mexico is start discussing the free trade agreement with Canada and US. So the idea is to promote scholarships in Mexico for Latin American people. So I remember that I was sitting in my lawyer office and suddenly I received the invitation. I checked the papers, and the interesting for me was that it's different career than lawyer, is international trade and business. I'm talking about 30 years ago. So in that time, I don't remember also that university has international trade as a career. So I decided to took this opportunity. And right now, I'm in Mexico City. This is my 32 years living here. More than I have lived more in Mexico than in Costa Rica.
Oh, wow. How do those early experiences shape the way you connect with teams and partners across Latin America today, would you say?
In that time, we don't talk about these words like resilience or adaptability, but basically this that we call right now soft skills. This is something that I learned from the experience because I coming from very small city. So coming to Mexico, going to the Mexican university, imagine that Costa Rica has 5 million people population. And this is the quantity that one subway line have every day in Mexico, all my country inside of a metro. So this kind of adaptability and resilience and also persistence, this is very important because I need to face a lot of challenge. So right now, when I move into South American countries, I can understand also the difference about maybe more a small market. And also Latin American people has a different way of thinking. Even we are in Brazil, Colombia, Honduras, whatever, we also always has same ADN, the same feeling. So this kind of capacity to understand the difference, when I start living here in Mexico, it's a very good skill to understand the other countries, economies, and markets.
I say that's absolutely true. So let's talk about what you're doing now. Now, you in the steel business, you are actually at the intersection of automotive business divisions, metal products, and social infrastructure divisions,
Yeah.
metal products for infrastructure for Mexico and for South America. How do you think about balancing those two mandates in your day to day? And where do you see any overlap between automotive demand and the infrastructure driven steel needs? And we can take it like by region if you like, but can you give us sort of an overall idea here?
Yeah, of course. This is very peculiar issue. In Mexican office, we do everything. For example, in Japan, you have rail business, automotive business, stainless steel. In Mexico, we are doing everything in the same business unit. So this is very good because you can understand a little bit about different markets. When I start working at Sumitomo, we have only a steel and no ferrous division. We don't have right now automotive and infrastructure. So basically, I work with both, doing automotive business and doing infrastructure business, or in that time it's called rail business, for example. Right now with this division, yes, there's a big difference because the way of doing the contracts, for example, automotive is more long-term relationship. They are asking for more stability in regards to the prices, and the approval of the material takes a lot of time because they need to do many tests in order to receive the first order. And infrastructure is quite different, especially right now for us in Mexico, because as we talked before, we decided to start dealing with public projects, transportation projects, as we did with Maya. In fact, this week, we are working in a new project for Mexico, and it's totally different, Stephen, to deal with a private company, to deal with the government. For example, the government always has prerogatives. So they don't care about time. They don't care about the time that the supplier is preparing the offer. They want everything for today. So right now that I'm trying to balance, replying your question is to have a very strong team and delegate the functions to them. And my position is try to control and try to put this balance in the right position. Sometimes there's season that, for example, right now I'm very busy with the rail projects because we will have a lot this year. So I discussed with my team and said, okay, right now for these 2 weeks, I will be very focused in infrastructure, public projects, but please help me and try to be more independent and try to control their business. And then move into automotive business because we are dealing with Volkswagen Mexico. So this is a strategy to keep the balance. Priority, what kind of business is more important right now? Focus your time, energy, and then move forward to the other one. So it's a continued dynamic activity, especially because we are doing everything in Mexico.
And along that same line, a follow-up question on that would be when you're dealing with Mexico, but you're also dealing with South American countries, you often have to deal with very different economic and regulatory realities, the laws, and between that and Mexico and supply and when it's coming from Japan and all these different areas, what is the biggest differences that you're having to deal with right now in these entities? What are how do you, I guess the real question is, how do you keep the strategy at the front of mind when there's so many possible differences in these processes and in these regional processes?
Okay, I know that this is not a political discussion, but we need to put in the table. 2 weeks ago, I have a different opinion about the South American market. Right now, the political issue became very important, especially with that is happening in Venezuela and all the discussion that we have about Colombia and also Cuba and other countries. So the main difference between, for example, North American area means US, Canada, and Mexico with South America. I can reply about the steel market with very simple word, China. Why? Because in South America, Brazil is very big steel producer, but I was reading the news today that the steel industry in Brazil are facing huge problems because 63% of the products are coming from China. And then there's not big production. The good point about import duties, in the very good sense, is to protect the industry. This is the national issue. Right now, they are playing with the import duties like a political game. But if you read some books about international trade, this is the idea. So in South America, there's no big steel production. So the market is open. And right now, because Mexico, Canada, and of course, US are closing the borders to China, all this idle production is coming to South America. So it's very complicated right now, Stephen, because sometimes we have big price difference. This is one important point that we are trying to work. The second one, political situation and country risk. It's complicated to do international business transfers with some countries. But the good point is that this growing market, I'm very happy to tell you that right now we are doing business from Mexico with Honduras. We are doing business with Brazil, and we are doing business with Argentina. And very interesting. In regards to Brazil and Argentina, they are becoming our suppliers. We are importing material from this country. My strategy always with South America, don't stop to looking opportunities. I know that it's difficult. Sometimes it's very frustrating for them because, oh, Mauricio, sorry, but the price difference is so big. And I said, continue looking for opportunities because we start discussing with Argentina, with Sumitomo Argentina, and we talked to them. We need aluminum ingots. They said we have very good relationship because Sumitomo Argentina is doing business with this company many years ago, and Argentina helped us to enter to this company. So again, internal communication between Sumitomo's office is super important. We have to understand what they are doing because sometimes maybe, oh, I know this customer, I know this supplier, and based on that, this is the start point to do business.
I see. Now, along those lines, how do you balance a local decision making with staying on strategy? Because sometimes the process of what's going on, the people who are the boots on the ground, who are local, they know the lay of the land, they know how things are working, but at the same time, somebody has to be in charge. And when that's you, how do you balance what they believe to be the right thing to do at the time and what you know is best for the company?
In regards to Mexico, I have 100% control because I know the people. I have for Sumitomo, it's kind of medium-sized team. And the good point is that I'm the one who did the interview, and basically 90% of the people who is working with me, I was the one who selected them. So in this case, it's very easy to control. And again, delegation with responsibility is one of my strategy, and of course, work team. In regards to South America, it's quite different because my position is like an advisor. At the end, I need to respect the president of each country decision. And my position is advisor, helping them, giving some suggestions about the business. I have visited all the South American countries. I have visited customers. And I said, okay, since my point of view, I believe that you have to do this. But at the end, I'm not decision maker for the business in South America. And this is very important to respect the president's strategy, to respect every country policy, and based on that, always be there for them, sharing the experience. I remember that somebody says in South America is amigo to amigo. Yes, speaking Spanish, having a close relationship, sometimes having dinner or drinks with them is the commercial practice. And this is only a suggestion, but every country has the power, the decision power, to decide if they are going to do this business or not. But in Mexico, it's 100% my control, my decision, of course, always with the supervision of my boss in Chicago, my bosses, because I have two, one for automotive and one for infrastructure, and I'm always consulting with the Mexico president.
And that seems like quite a balance. So looking to the future, what sort of structural changes do you see in the steel market coming that are most important for our people in Mexico and in South America? What's the sort of thing we should be looking for happening in the steel market in both automotive and infrastructure over the next few years?
Okay, interesting question. Right now, as we are living in a very protected economy with a lot of import duties, so it's making more complicated for us to do the imports. Recently, in this week, Mexico also decided to increase the import duties. But one of the solutions is doing business with countries that we have free trade agreement. Unfortunately, in Mexico, we have a free trade agreement with 18 countries right now. One of them is Japan, that is give us an opportunity to do more business with them. The second point is to analyze and has our eyes open in regards to the political situation. This is so important, not because the political issue itself, it's because all the consequence, stability, import duties, investment or no investment because the country. And the tendency right now is nearshoring because national content, there's a tendency that companies are trying to establish operation in the North America, Canada, Mexico, and US. And this is also a good opportunity for us to promote or to be parts on investment in Mexico, for example. Right now, we are waiting what will be the final decision about the UMCA because we don't know if US says that national content is 100% made in US or from the area. In this case, this is the third point, looking for potential investment. And the last point about the market is trying to promote value-added products with value-added service. The traditional back-to-back business in which when I purchase from Japan and I put in the Mexican port and that's it, is not working anymore. You have to provide a customer logistics, inventories control, and also try to find unique products. Commercial products, everybody's doing that. Let me tell you a very interesting experience. When I started working in Sumitomo 17 years ago, I visited a customer and I said, hello, I'm Mauricio coming from a Japanese company. Oh, very welcome. Japanese material. Right now they said, yes, but I have India, I have Korea, I have China, I have Malaysia. So you have to be very creative. This is also important. Even in a steel that said, how do you make creative in a steel? Yes, you can. So try to find very unique products. For example, rail business is very good for us. Why? Because Mexico is not producing rail. And right now we are very lucky because Mexico decided to put import duty against China. So right now we're in a better position. But this kind of a strategy, look in the market, political issue, nearshoring, import duties, creativity, and value-added products. I can say that this is a strategy that we are following in Mexico and also trying to promote these kind of ideas with South America.
That seems like a very good plan, like that's the sort of overarching plan that can really sustain you through some difficult times when you need some true strength. But just to wrap up, I wanted to ask you, you're a very positive person. Where in your background do you think that that comes from, or is that something that developed over time?
I believe some of this came from my family, and also because my mother always said to us that we need to fight for our dreams. And the second one is I'm very positive because I believe that you have to enjoy your work and your life, and also being positive open a lot of doors, especially in business, because I remember that sometimes and in another company that I have been working, I said, oh, let's do that. No, it's impossible. We tried. Yes, but we tried 5 years ago. The market is changing. Be positive, be creative, and also enjoy the job. I'm very happy working here in Sumitomo. And it's part of my personality, I believe.
I would agree. I would agree. Mauricio, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today about things that are going on in Mexico and South America with steel. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So thank you again for talking to us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for the opportunity. I'm very happy to talk with you. And let's continue trying to integrate South America, Central America with US and Canada. And again, improve internal communication. This is a very good example how we can improve our internal communication in our company. So thank you, and saludos from Mexico.